this is one thing I do want every woman in kitesurfing, and I think even in general in sports, to understand. Work with your brain because it's so powerful. Like I said, the reason that you are tired and you are, you know, low energy, it's not that you're not, but the reason why you are is in your brain.
Hi, and welcome to Mermaid Mode. My guest today is Alessa Sophia Mensch. She's somebody I've been very excited to talk to for a very long time, and not just about the big air kitesurfing and her incredible competition performances, but also on the topic that she likes to talk about herself, and that's the topic of female health. And we're going to talk about not just about the physical female health, the hormones and so on, but we're also going to talk about the mental aspect of it and the female mental health aspect in the performative sports and being surrounded by guys in the sports that we do. So this is a very long episode, as you've noticed, and I was thinking of actually splitting it in two, but I think a lot of topics that we raise are quite interesting to listen to everyone. And if you'd like to choose something yourself, there are chapters in this episode, but I strongly encourage you to listen to the entire thing. So without further ado, let's dive in. Well, Alessa, welcome to Mermaid Mode. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, very excited about our conversation here. Well, maybe let's start with you just tell me like where you are right now and what you're doing in this kind of like a downtime from the kitesurfing competition.
I'm currently in Germany. It's hard to call it home because home is in many places, and yeah, but I'm at my brother's house, busy preparing the last bits and pieces and packing my bags to be flying to Cape Town on Wednesday. Just came from Sardinia to visit my mom because she lives in Sardinia. So yeah, as you can see, everybody's all over the place. Yeah, and I had a full month in Germany. This hasn't been the case since I started traveling, that I've spent so much time at home or where I grew up. And yeah, it's been really nice because I consciously took the time off to say I had some small injuries, nothing major, but oh, sorry, my cat. Yeah, nothing major, but some things the body just needs to heal out with time. And I haven't really had the time or given my body the time to do that. So for July, I had nothing really planned, and I just kind of kept it free from the beginning of the year of the planning because I thought I really need some time with my family actually and with my friends. And yeah, I really took that time and it was amazing. I feel like my batteries are fully charged again, and now I can go into the next adventure again.
That's so wholesome. I think you also mentioned on the like a 365 podcast as well that you took quite a like a big rest before Lords of Tram, and it kind of helped you as well to get this mental clarity, but also like let your body recover. Do you feel that's what you're doing right now as well before the next few competitions that start soon?
Absolutely, yeah. I think at the moment everything is still, trial and error. We're still learning. And exactly the time off that I took in Cape Town actually last year was so much bigger than I thought. Like, it was really important, and to learn from past mistakes, or call it mistakes, or simply, you always have this pressure to yourself, but also being surrounded by competition. You think everybody else is training, everybody else is at a windy spot. And then there was the financial part as well, where I'm going to go to a spot now and I'm going to stay there for months because it's cheaper and I'm going to train and so on. But yeah, I wouldn't really let myself calm down. And yeah, it was definitely, I would even say, my topic for 2026 was rest. And I really had to learn that because I really struggle to sit quietly or just, take a break. And because in our lives, it's always something to do. Like we have a lot of time that we can choose or pick what we do free. But at the same time, there's also never it's never ending. You're never off completely. When you're on holiday, you still have to post, you still have to plan the next trip, book your flights, and so on. So I think especially mentally, but also physically, it was really important to learn to also in my planning, take this month off. And even if there's opportunities, I call everything an opportunity. So I have to cancel it and specifically say no in this month because I took this time for me. And yeah, I've never really done that before, but it felt really good.
That's my dream as well to do that. Actually, I would love to.
Yeah, it's not always possible, I know. But if you have or see a slight chance of, even if it's just a weekend where you just take a gap, but consciously put everything aside and say, this weekend is for me, and you do whatever, whatever nourishes you.
I understand because I think I have this ritual where I have one weekend every 2 months or one day every 2 months where I just sit and watch Netflix and I don't feel guilty about it, right? Because as you say, you have all of this pressure from the competition, right? To perform, to train, to become better, to learn new tricks and everything. And you feel like you can't afford to have this downtime, right? And
exactly.
yeah, to me, it's the same where I'm like, okay, I can't watch Netflix that much and everything. But one day, you know what? It's just going to be like this purge of rest where you just sit down and you don't feel guilty about binge watching something for the entire day and do nothing but walk a dog.
And that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it has to be then. Maybe I can get a dog walker as well. That would be just the ultimate rest.
If I'm around, I'm all here for it.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Maybe for cold Hawaii.
Yeah.
If you need a downtime, you can take my dog for a walk.
After the competition, hell yeah, I'm in.
Nice. Okay. I'll remember that.
Yeah. But it is the guilt that you said, that's exactly the point, because living guilt-free is such a important state of mind. And I think especially as women, we really struggle to, or I don't know, but everyone in my surroundings or my friends, they're the same. Like you do nothing and you feel guilty, and it's actually a horrible feeling.
Now I'm thinking as well, like why this could be. And, sometimes I have missed some of the kite sessions where like my kite group is mostly guys, pretty much only guys. And sometimes like for whatever reason, I have to miss a session, but it's not because like I'm sick or anything. It's because either I'm taking a rest or whatever I feel is not worthy for missing a session, and I'm feeling like they're judging me and thinking it's like, she's a girl. Of course, she's like, it doesn't matter, And you train with a lot of guys, right? Like, you're also surrounded basically by this guy energy. Like, do you think that also feeds into your fear of missing out, or that guilt for taking the time because you don't want to be perceived as this like, she's a girl, she is not like that hardcore,
Yeah, you're hitting a spot here. It is the story of my life. And what I've realized is, literally, that's been the story of my life for the past 4 or 5 years, when we started only traveling and only competing. And because being with the guys who train every day, and also they train almost every day the same in a month. And it made me so frustrated. And I do believe it was one part of why I had to take a break eventually, because it wasn't working. I was eating like the guys. I was sleeping, trying to sleep like the guys. or, you know, like running the same schedule, doing everything the same. But for me, it wasn't working the same. So it was very frustrating. And the moment I took a break, the moment I realized I can take a break and not feel guilty and don't even go to the spot because I'm huge FOMO. I can't be at the spot and watch other people kite. It's torture for me. But, you know, even that I had to learn eventually. But the moment you take that pressure out and you do it for yourself, the guys would never question you. The guys would never judge you. And I think we built this thought of what they think in our heads, but it's
100%.
not at all what they say or think. So if you take a rest and you stand up for yourself and say, no, for example, when I struggled with my back injury, I had to be very selective and really listen to my body once I got it back into training. As soon as I felt it's too much, I had to stop. Every time I sat down, I remember so many times Luca would go, he was like, is it the back? I'm like, yeah, okay, feel better. You know, like actually the boys are so supportive, or at least the guys that I'm surrounded with, and they respect my decisions. It's just in my head that they think I'm weak, but it's not at all. Like, not at all. It's actually the opposite. The moment you stand up for yourself and you say, I'm not training today, and you stand clear in your point of view, they will respect that more than anything else.
I think it's such a recognition of strength as well for you to take time to listen to your body and not push it, because I mean the recovery takes such a more long time than it would take you to have like a cool session with maybe your back hurts or not, you know? So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a time and a place. There is a difference, because I've also had moments where I was afraid and I was using rest as an excuse to not push today. But then, so you really have to be honest to yourself. And I think that's the most difficult part about it. You have to be honest and say, am I right now, does my body need rest? And I am eager to train, but it's not the right thing? Or am I afraid and I'm looking for excuses, but now is the time to push? So I think to find the line in between there is crucial, actually.
But actually, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and I think it feeds really well into it as well. And you also mentioned a month where the guys are they're all pushing the same for the entire month, because obviously they don't have a hormonal cycle. And I actually remember that you've made a post sometime a couple of years ago or something where you were recovering, but you also had a lot of pain during your period, right? And I've never actually seen a water sports athlete talk about their cycle and talk about their training. And I also thought it's like, wow, what if you're in the competition and you're on your period and it's painful? Because it depends, right? So I've seen Zara mention, somebody asked her and she said that she has a spiral, I think, so she doesn't get periods and doesn't get pains. But I think you mentioned that you do, I have a lot of pains actually during my cycle. It depends, it varies. And sometimes, I literally can't go, not only because of the pain, but because in my mind, it's like, everything is horrible. Everything is terrible because, it's the hormones that are shooting into your brain and telling you that you're a failure and you are the worst person in the universe, right?
Yeah, I feel you. So I've actually done a lot of research about this topic. And if I mean a lot, I've done a full study of it.
Nice.
I have endometriosis, so my period is extremely painful every single month, and I am working on it, but it is a very difficult topic. There's a lot of research now coming, but when it mattered to me, taking birth control, or the solution was always take birth control, but the side effects of that for me was even bigger, plus on top of the pain. That pain never disappeared. And sorry, I hope you can't hear my cat. It's going
fine.
crazy.
It's okay. I love pets on this podcast. We talk about dogs all the time. So
yeah, perfect. I hope we have some cat lovers here. So the fear of having my period during competition is always there, and it's immense, because if it comes to that point and day, I am not able to compete, and especially not at my best. Even if I would push through, I would die, literally die. So I've been close to it, and it was awful. It's just simply, you have no energy, you're freezing cold, you are in pain, and a lot of women, 1 woman out of 10 have endometriosis or PCOS, or, really, I call it diseases because it really, it's a struggle in your everyday life. But what you're experiencing, for example, is actually a super interesting topic when you say your brain tells your body, I'm feeling weak today. I'm feeling like a piece of, like there's so much that the connection of your brain tells your body. And I've actually done some research. There's not, your body is, or your muscle isn't saying, okay, today I have less progesterone or more estrogen or something. Your body stays the same, but this brain body connection is what makes you feel tired, what makes you feel afraid. For example, it's actually, non-physical and yet very much physical because of your brain body connection, which is super interesting, which is also good to know, because sometimes, like I said, you can push your body, and it's good to know that you're not harming yourself if you push through. You can maybe also manipulate your mind and tell, okay, today is the day. Today we have these conditions and I need to train in regardless of what mindset I am. But there's also the other way around. For example, for me, my training changed when I stopped fighting what I feel. I felt horrible once, or, almost like if I train with the guys, they go 4 weeks the same. I go 2 weeks, I'll go with them, and 2 weeks, I'll literally reverse away from them or their progression and so on. And the moment I realized, when I'm reversing, call it fear, low energy, more calories that I need, and so on. When I'm reversing, I'll stop fighting it and nourish that feeling. So when I'm reversing and feeling afraid, I'll journal and say, what am I afraid of? Like I'll work with that fear. I'll work on crashing, how to crash. Just sometimes do the trick that I'm afraid of and kick the board, regardless of whether I would have landed it or not. But just kick it to know, okay, in the case of an emergency, I have almost like a reflex to kick the board. I've learned how to crash. So next time when I feel better, I can implement that and trust on my preparation and training. And next time in my 2 weeks of glory, I can use it, So I'm giving away a lot of like my training methods. I don't want to say too much, but this is one thing I do want every woman in kitesurfing, and I think even in general in sports, to understand. Work with your brain, because it's so powerful. Like I said, the reason that you are tired and you are, low energy, it's not that you're not, but the reason why you are is in your brain. And it's totally acceptable, because there is also reasons for it. When you're high in estrogen, or like in one cycle phase, you are more prone to injuries because your ligaments are softer and so on. So it has a natural reason for it, and you shouldn't fight it, but you can work with it.
Like I can hear how much research you've done, and that's so cool to hear. But also, like I've learned something new as well, that like that I can tell my body that it's okay and I'm not going to break something, because as you said as well, like sometimes when you're in the depth of it, I feel like I'll just going to break something. I'm going to push too
Mhm.
hard. And
Mhm.
I really like your approach actually of basically still going out on the water, still trying something, but learn other things or improve on other things that are important for the competition, because it's not all about the tricks. It's about the managing the conditions, right? Because
Mhm.
they're very different everywhere. And like every session counts in a way, right? So even
Absolutely.
if you didn't land something like spectacular, you still learned how to go over the chop or how to, crash correctly. That's really cool. I don't think you're giving away too much. I feel like this should be shared more for other girls
Absolutely.
to learn about it, because I feel you and I were quite fortunate that we're like Western, and we live in a society as well. I mean, you are from Germany, so you have like a very German mindset, I guess. And I live now in Denmark, which is very like liberated society in the way, where even at work, I can tell guys, it's like, don't talk to me, I'm on my period today. Just like only important questions only. And it's not a taboo to say that, you know, but
Mm.
in some other
Mm.
places, like even I'm from Latvia, for example, when I'm back in Latvia, if I tell a man that I have a period, they're like, why are you telling me
Ugh.
this? Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
you should be embarrassed about this.
Yeah, yeah. And that is a good point. And I feel like you're right. We have the very few countries and cultures that talk open about it. And I've even had discussions about that in my inner circle. And I think, you know, 50% of the world is affected by it or was affected by it, at least in their lives.
Mm.
So, and about the biggest time period of their lives. And even if you go into menopause and so on, there's also things that you should know. And there's, I mean, yes, I am deeply into this topic right now because of a bigger story that we probably get to later. But there is so much missing research about women. Only since 2023, women have to be included in medical research. And the thing is, before that, women are inconsistent to test because of our hormone cycle. So women were mostly just not considered in medical studies. So, for example, even when it comes to painkillers, our dose that we should take, women have a lot higher tolerance that barely anyone knows or talks about it. So if you don't feel that Ibo 400 or that painkiller, then it's maybe because it's not strong enough for your, pain tolerance and so on. So there's so much data that is missing based on women that, yeah, I could talk for hours in this topic because I find it, especially for me, I find it so interesting because I can use it in a direct translation and I can see and feel the difference, because in sport, you get your, like if I change something in life, it's going to take a while until you see it. But if I change something in my training, I can feel it the next session, or maybe in a month period, I can see my progression. So the feedback is instant, and that's what fascinates me, because the more I learn, the more I use it on my own body and my own progression, curve. And it's such a good feeling to understand and also to help other women. Like, for example, talk about endometriosis and so on. I was diagnosed 2 years ago. Like, and officially, I'm not even diagnosed, because officially the only way is to cut yourself open and, you know, so there's actually, right now, there's a lot of research made, but I wish it was sooner, because I thought my entire life it is totally normal to go through the pain. And I'm just, unfortunate to feel it a lot stronger than other women. I wish I knew that sooner, to know it's nothing wrong with me, or there is something wrong with me, but there is maybe a cure.
I don't know if you've seen Brian Johnson, the biohacker.
Yeah, I wanted to mention it, but I thought, well, maybe this is a bit too much.
No, I feel this is the the perfect topic for this conversation, I think, because it's so important to discuss this, because I feel like probably in your social media and your algorithm is also kind of like probably suited for that, where you get a lot of information, a lot of education on the topic. Mine is quite as well. But I don't feel, if people never think about it, like maybe some women who are having these pains, but they don't even consider that they might have endometriosis as well, because again, it's also when you go to the doctor, they just go like, it's you're a female, you have a period. Like,
it's normal.
Yeah, that's how it feels like. And then you get this device for the guys, you put it on their abdomen to try to test like the period pain. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
And then they just
can't pass out.
Yeah, exactly. And they pass out from like even a tiny bit. But imagine doing everything in your life in this, sometimes on heels, keeping your mind sane basically away from the pain. So I understand when you say that you have to just like live with it and feel it. Hopefully there's going to be some like remedies soon as well, because I have a few of my friends, they're struggling with the same thing. But yeah, the lack of research. But I mean, now, because it's such a well-discussed topic, I guess, in our algorithm, hopefully there are like female scientists and female doctors who are more open to discussing it and diagnosing it early, maybe as well.
Yeah, there is really a huge amount of also billions of US dollars being invested in femtech and female health. So there's definitely a change coming. One thing that irritates me a little bit, or not irritating is the wrong word, but there is almost, especially on my feed, there is almost too much information, and I really struggle, like I'm already deep into the topic, but even now I'm, like, what should I eat? What should I do? This is wrong. This is good. This is bad. There's so much knowledge and it's non-filtered. Obviously, also, I'm now talking like I was an expert. I'm no expert at all. I just read, a lot of information. I read a lot of studies and I'm interested in the topic. But even so, I feel so overwhelmed of the, the mountain of knowledge that is, again, not filtered, and maybe also not always filtered to the female body. There's so much don'ts, but what can I do?
Yeah. It's like, eat nothing.
Yeah, but that's also not good. Yeah, you should not train on an empty stomach.
Damn it. But this is a really good continuation to actually talk about what you're working on right now, right? Like the app that you're building exactly for this, right? To get into know your body and to like get into know how to nourish yourself, because that's also part of an athletic performance for you, but it's also part of you kind of like healing your body with whatever remedies you can, right? Because there's no medication currently.
Yeah. Well, there is some, but I'm currently not willing to take that.
Yeah, because you have to cut something out, right? Like, so they have to.
Yeah, you have to find for endometriosis especially, you have to find the herds that are growing, but they can be all over your body. So it can be quite an invasive, it is a microscopic surgery, but yeah, that would mean I'm 6 weeks out minimum. And that is, again, right now I feel like I can't afford that, because that's like an injury and I am willing to, lie myself under the knife. And yeah, it's difficult, but there is, like, again, for example, Brian Johnson's wife or fiance, whatever, has endometriosis and is right now going through major tests, and I feel like catching up on all the missing data and research. So yeah, I'm very curious, because they already manage to diagnose without a surgery. So there's already a huge, movement coming. And just again, for this topic, I know this is not affecting everyone, but for the ones that are affected, I just want to say, go to a doctor and know what you're asking for. No, you want to know your egg count, because this is the first indicator for PCOS or endometriosis. If you have a low egg count, then it's probably that. And there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of knowledge out there. Inform yourself before you go to any doctor. And even if it's not a specialist that you go to, because you sometimes wait ages for an appointment with a specialist, just be informed in advance. You know it's not normal to be in so much pain. So get your knowledge in advance and then tell your doctor, I want this and that tested. And if he tells you, nah, this is, just be persistent, because there is a cure and there is a way. And hormones, taking birth control is not the way. If you don't want to take that for any reason, you don't have to. So just to finish up that topic. So yes, back to your question. What I'm currently working on is an app to do exactly that, to filter all the information on evidence-based knowledge, studies, and narrow it down to what's important to live with your cycle, but in every phase of your life. So the app is called Her Phase. I don't want to make any, advertisement, but
no, it's good, of course.
Well, the idea is basically there is a phase in your life where you start feeling a difference. And I think most of the time it's something happens in your life. Maybe you get sick, or someone else gets sick, or your mom has menopause symptoms and she's really struggling and you just want to help her. And there's always, a moment in your life when you start shifting your focus and priority to, maybe it's not that important how much is on my scale and how much I look, rather than I want to feel energetic and healthy. And I think this is especially a phase. I mean, it can come earlier. I think I was pretty early in general because of sports, that I always seek for high energy. But especially when I felt starting a shift in low energy, I was almost obsessed with finding out what's in my body. And due to that, I, began my journey of research, and I found someone who was exactly on the same path. Because of her mother, she had osteoporosis. So basically a huge amount of bone loss, which is what I now know is so common for women to, it's almost the same that doctors say, yeah, well, you're getting old. It's normal to have bone loss, and you fall, you break something. And it's almost ridiculous, the fact that we call this normal. And it happens because of your hormonal change during aging, but it can start with 30. With 30, you're stopping to grow bone density as a woman. I'm very much into this research about women, so I don't know how it looks with men, but I'm pretty sure women are a lot more at risk for bone loss because of pregnancy, because of our hormonal shift. And there is a phase in your life when you realize, okay, I'm not in my 20s anymore, or whenever, but this is important to me, that when I have a crash with 40, I'm not breaking everything and I can live on, So there's different phases in life where it becomes a topic and very important to you. And there's so many ways that you can do in a natural way, first starting with exercise. For bone loss, you can literally prevent bone loss with exercising. It's that simple. But it needs to be specific.
Lifting heavy, right?
Lifting heavy. You need impact on your bones. And you can also balance your hormones with the right nutrition and with the right, I don't even want to say supplements, because if you eat the right way, you don't need any supplements or barely any supplements. But you need to start early. That's a problem. That's a point. And I've seen it with my mom, who's struggling so much with menopause symptoms, that I told myself, I do not want to get that. I don't want to let it come that far, because simply there wasn't enough knowledge, and it was all like, it's so normal for people to know, okay, when you're in menopause, you have these symptoms, but it's not. It's just accepted. And to prevent that acceptance of feeling bad and losing your abilities in your body, I simply don't want to accept that in no matter what age.
That's I feel that it's at some point you probably need to also realize that some of these things will happen, but at least that's going to get your body more prepared for it. And you're going to know how to manage the symptoms better, right? I'm also overwhelmed with the amount of things that I have to do, like even just to keep myself up, like alive and healthy, and balance my hormones, lift weights, but also stretch, but also relax in the middle, but also eat healthy, but also have a job, kite surf, like all of these things. It's quite overwhelming. Yeah,
absolutely. And I really understand that. Like, I'm, not technically preparing yet for menopause or any pause or any cycle, but even just to live in sync with your cycle and according, there's so much knowledge, so much out there that it's very important for you to find out your way, because there is simply too much. You can live like Brian Johnson, sure, but then please quit your job and your life and so on. And if you're lucky, you find a boyfriend that's like-minded, but that's not the case. That's not life. But I think that's why I really want to raise awareness about it in any age, group, because there's always something you can do, and there's always small step. That's one thing that I learned with sports. Because I'm, like super eager, and I always wanted, as soon as I started something, I wanted to be good at. Like, I started any sports, I want to immediately know how to do it and be good at it, and ideally be the best. So unfortunately, that's not how it works, and it's not how it works in sports, and neither it is in life. So what is important, and especially why I created, or my partner and I, Julia, why we created the app, is to filter it and give you options of a better life. So even if you do one thing a day, you changed something towards the better. And if you do it for 20 or 30 days in a row, it becomes a habit. It starts to become your identity, because all of a sudden you're not the person who feels this way, but you become the person who stops preventing you from feeling this way. And I think this is so powerful to understand that, or for me, it was, every step is great and an improvement, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I just need to start somewhere, and then the next step will be a lot easier to take on. And in a year's time, I've made so much progress that I couldn't even, have imagined. And yet, at the beginning of everything, you want to be the best, and immediately, but you just have to start, and then you will be, or maybe not the best, but you will not recognize yourself if you do something consistently after a year.
That's the theory of atomic habits, right? Like, you start with one small thing, a couple of minutes a day, and then you progress basically until it becomes a habit after 30 days. And then you build on it, right?
It's a great book.
Yeah. I heard you read that book, and then the other one about the design around women as well. That's also a great book.
Yeah. And there's also one, how the overthinking guide is also a great one, where we talked about it earlier. When you feel like you're going to break something in your session, you're like, I need to stop. And often this is what stops us women from progressing, because we think about the worst case scenario. I think maybe biologically, this is maybe, you know, like a self-protection way of females, because we need to, like, maybe evolutionary, we had to take care of kids and we couldn't injure ourselves, so we have to be a little bit more preservative. And, you know, like, I think this is a big difference between men and women. But if you just stop thinking of what could happen in a worst case scenario and start thinking what happens if I do it and I win, or, you know, if it just change your direction of thinking. Instead of the negative outcome, focus on the positive outcome. And that's a huge difference. And yes, there's all these, you know, self-improvement books and knowledge, and it's all out there, but I spend a lot of time reading to find out, and then you also forget in your everyday life, you know, like, you should start writing a rule book and so on. And I think, yeah, the app is basically the answer to all of this. But of course, it's not the perfect way. Of course, it might not be for everyone. And yeah, that's why we're implementing basically an AI to filter all the knowledge and give individual recommendations, because every body is different, every mind works differently, and you just need to find your way. My way is not the right way for many others, because I go a very specific path down on performance.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also a certain age, and all of these variables matter to, you know, find your way. But I think it all comes down to knowledge and implementation, little by little.
I'm so excited to try it out. I haven't looked at it yet. Is it on the App Store already?
Not yet. We're currently in the alpha phase. So basically we have the first prototype, but it's very generic. It's not the real app. We just actually Julia created it herself on Reddit, just to get like a basic, not Reddit, Replit. Almost.
I was like, Reddit, interesting. Got a lot of feedback fast.
Yeah, so yeah, huge credits to her. She's done a really good job by just, you know, for now we just want to get some feedback of a close inner circle to know what's working, what's missing, but there's no AI in it that can filter and track your habits and so on. And there's also a few, actually this Tuesday we have our appointment with I don't even know the English word. Well, where we found our company and register it. So that's a big step. But there's also still, you know, I don't know if you heard about the lawsuit of Flow, the tracking app.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the problem with all the apps is, to make money, they sell data.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to work with Apple Watch or a Ring and so on, they sell your data. And that's one thing we really don't want to do, because there's so many, it's not just, you know, like, of course, big companies, that's how they make money, but there's a lot of trouble that comes with selling data, and that speaks against our moral.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're still facing some, you know, issues, but we're aiming for a launch in December. So for now, we're creating a waiting list to see who's interested in this topic. The first ones will also be treated very specially into creating the app with us. So because we want to, you know, not just give you the final product and that's it, but the first inner circle will also build the app and recreate it. So after, you know, the first time period, if you guys tell us this needs to change, or this is what we want on top of it, or so on. So yeah, it's, again, it starts with a small app that we build and grow, and it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. It never will be perfect. But yeah, we agreed, or Julia is actually great of pushing me in the right direction of not wanting to be perfect right at the beginning, and just launch the product, bring it out, and grow with it, Yeah.
I'm really, really excited to see how you deal with this. And it's probably like also the new area of work for you. Or what's your education like? Did you go to university for any of this, or?
Yeah, none. Well, I finished school and started traveling because I didn't know what to study. If I'd studied what I wanted to after school, I would have studied liberal arts and sciences. God knows what I would have done with it. Then I was traveling and thought, oh, why not studying abroad? And I started studying sports management.
Oh, that's cool.
Realized that everything was about football, soccer. I realized very quickly after into the second semester that I was like, no, this is not for me. I can't do this for another 3 years or 2.5. So I changed my topic to public relations because I think, everything around social media and communication is super important and interesting. But after I've done my very first my second podium in Tarifa, when I came third in full power Tarifa, that was a changing point where I realized I'm doing two things halfway. So if I put that much time and effort into training, then what goes into my studies, I would be a lot better, a much better kite surfer. And the other way around, if I would study much more and train less, I would finish my studies much quicker. So I had to make a decision because doing two things halfway is not the right way for me. And well, I obviously chose kiting because I thought if I want to study, I can study. But I learned a lot, to be fair. I gained a lot of, especially about what I still remember and still practice and use is how to assess data. So, or like studies, how to, proofread it to say, okay, this is a representative study or not. And this is what really helps me now with the app, because I don't want to take, not any study is always true or representative, because if they just use 10 people and 10 of them were men, then we have our answer. So just because studies say, they're not always, that's not always an argument. So that's one thing, I think the biggest, thing that I learned, but I don't have a degree or, any scientific background or something. Not at all. For me, it was the best call, even though my family sometimes, it's hard sometimes to argue, because before this year, I've never really podiumed, or, like you're almost being judged for taking this kind of path, because it's not the usual. It's not, there's always this topic of safety. But yes, my job is very unstable. I mean, I could get injured and all of this dream is done basically. But what they don't see is the opportunity and doors and people I've met and doors that have opened. I've seen the world, or the working world, or making money, or having a job in a different kind of angle. There's a lot of ways to, work. And for me, the most important is find something that I'm interested in and that I like doing. And I think now with the app, is the first time where I really enjoyed, besides kiting, of course, but where I really, found a way of, it's super interesting to keep learning. And I think this is for me the most important thing, to just keep learning, I could never do a job where I just do the same thing every day. I need to keep growing. So yeah, but it's a very common, or like very, this topic is always in my mind of what do I do? What's the future like? Yeah, because we all know this can't last forever to compete and be a team rider and so on. And there's actually not that many options if you think about it as a professional kiter. What do you do afterwards? I mean, there's the typical, yes, you can do kite safaris and that, but what do you do with apart being of being depending on your body? What can you do? Yeah, apart from that. So yeah, difficult topic.
I really like your example. I think it's such a cool way of you finding something that makes you different as well, because I feel when you're looking at kitesurfing content on social, it's easy for you to want to do exactly the same as everybody does, as you say, kite safaris or like coaching or like start doing like bikini deals or kind of, it's very stereotypical for all of the kitesurfing women specifically also to do. So if you can find something else that also interests you, but also to show an example that there's also possibilities beyond that to other girls, I think it's very useful. Like,
yeah,
it's a very cool example. But how long are you actually staying away from Germany? Like you said, it's kind of like you treated yourself to like a month here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was it with your travels?
Yeah, since I'm basically 19, I've traveled. And of course, I've always came back to visit, but not really. There was one time period where my visa in Brazil got rejected and I couldn't go back for a few months. And yeah, I went back to Germany, did one season as a snow kite instructor. And during the week, I was working in a restaurant, or like restaurant bar, because at the beginning, actually, my plan was to become a bartender in my gap year instead of a kitesurf instructor. Or, well, that was before I knew about kiting. So I do have a little bit of a background in, that. So, yeah, but that was the only 2 months or maybe 3 in between where I was home. And yeah, everything changed because I was meant to be there and I was over that job. So I was looking for another way of, because I was pendling weekends on the mountain and night shifting in the bar and stuff and restaurant. So I was gonna be a DHL parcel deliverer.
Wow.
I
so
thought
German.
I needed, very, but I needed a job that, in that time I was impossible to stand still. So I needed something physical and what made me money. And that was almost the answer. And then the call came for a job offer in South Africa.
Wow.
So I took that.
For the kite instructor role or? Yeah. Wow.
So for 5 years, almost 5 years, I was just teaching in schools all over the world. Started in Ecuador. Very random, but wouldn't highly recommend it, but there is one spot that is good, but not for beginning.
Yeah. I would imagine very choppy, like
very choppy, and a huge shore break.
Yeah, wow.
And went to Colombia, Brazil, Dominican Republic, like all of South America, and then back to Germany and did one season there. And then South Africa found me. Yeah.
Actually, something that you also mentioned, it's interesting because I feel like I can relate to that as well, where you said that your parents maybe wanted you to get the degree and to study and to get like, the trajectory of a traditional kind of like job to industry. And then like you decided to travel, to be an instructor, but also then become a professional athlete and in the sports. Like, how did you gather the super supportive group that you have right now that is behind you? And I guess you now feel so much support for what you do. Like, how did you find these people, or how did people find you? How was the process for you?
That is a great, great question because it's actually so meaningful.
Mm.
At the beginning, I would say in total, overall, my mom is my biggest supporter in all the time period. Whether she understood me or not, or stood behind it or not, she was always supporting me. And if I was clear and I told her my perspective, then she accepted it, no matter what. Like, I've came up with crazy ideas. I've done crazy shit that I probably wouldn't do again. But my mom was always the one behind my back, no matter what. And I'm so grateful. And she's always been like that. When I was a kid and I told her, Mom, I want to play the drums, then I could start playing the drums. And if I wanted to go to gymnastic and do trampoline, she gave me a trampoline in my garden. So like, she was super supportive, especially when it came to sports or discovering the world. She was always there. And then there was also a time period where I call it the selection, the filtering started when, my first year of traveling went past and I was meant to do a gap year and then start studying. But then I actually met someone along the way and she told me, you know what? No one's going to ask if you were gap yearing for 1 or 2 years. In the end, it doesn't matter. So I was like, that sounds interesting. So yeah, out of 1, it became 2 and then another 1 and so on. And basically in that, especially the first to the second year when I was supposed to come home, but I didn't. And there was a big filtering of friends and also family. Not like my family was always, close to me, but I had to justify a lot in that time or, justify myself and my decisions. And a big miss or loss of friends and, people that I knew. Because friendship and all of that is also, it takes time and you need to invest in it. And if you don't have that and, like you can have a phone call, but it's not the same. There was a big, I would say loss, but there was also a huge gain of people that I met and people that inspired me, that supported me. I mean, the fact how I started is already explains it all, and it continued like that in my journey. My kitesurf instructor offered me a job because I told him I can't finish my course because I'm broke. So he offered me a volunteer job to work in the school. He taught me how to repair kites, make the bookings. He taught me how to teach. He taught me, I was living at his house. He had a big house where also guests were living in and so on. But he gave me basically a free accommodation deal with a volunteer job where I can use the equipment of the school. It was only one kite designated to me, but it was a kite. And in that time, there's no other way I could have gone into the sport, And he taught me Spanish vocabulary because I had to teach everything in Spanish. I did the first hour of safety and so on in the end for him. And I had to do everything in Spanish. So he was such a big support in the start. And he also gave me the next contact to Colombia to teach for another school because by then I had no license, no experience. So he was like, nah, she's been working for me. She's really good. You can trust her. So the next school took me on and so on. And ever since I've had so much support and, like moments where I'm like, how is this possible? It's just meant to be. Like so many, like the call from Cape Town was 1 day before I started at DHL. 1 day. If it would have been 1 day later, I would have said, no, I started this job I'm doing this now. But it was a day before and I could still cancel the job because I knew there was 20 other people who could do the job. So yeah, it was just meant to be sometimes. And the people that I've met and supported me, and I feel like this is also, like a community on Instagram, but also in real life. You travel around the world and you see in each country, you meet your people again and again, and it's real friendships that started. And yeah, I've been super lucky and very fortunate in this industry, in this community. Yeah, met so many nice people, inspiring, supportive, and I think this is also why I fell in love with the sport in general, and also something that I want to give back to people that are starting or in need of support, or, like it's massive. It changed my life and I'm forever thankful for that. So if I can give that back to anyone, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's so nice to pass it forward as well and to other people. I think you have a great potential to do that. And again, specifically because of the topics that you deal with, like with the female side of kitesurfing and well-being. I think that's very valuable to pass on and to educate people on. I think one of the questions I wanted to ask you was about your sponsorships and specifically the one with Brunotti, because I feel that also ties into it, like the way that they're supporting you through the competition and the way that it looks like it's such a wholesome collection of people, and specifically women as well, because at least that's what I see. That must be so fun to have a sponsor like this. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, tell
Yeah,
me
it
about it.
really is. From the get-go, from the beginning, Brunotti. I mean, when I got my Brunotti deal, I was beyond the moon. And I still am, because yesterday I opened a box for the new Urban Outdoor Collection shoot, and I'm like, I'm living every girl's dream. I mean, I'm getting free clothing from my favorite brand. There's like, this is insane, if you would have told me that when I started kitesurfing in Ecuador, I wouldn't believe it. So, when I got my sponsorship with Brunotti, I was like, I'm reaching way too far into this, but they approached me and I was like, well, okay, they wanted me. But the special thing is about our relationship is, first of all, there is Kat, the now Brunotti brand manager, who approached me and from the beginning has always worked with me and believed in me. She's, I don't know what she's seen that day when she met me at the beach, but she's seen something in me that now I start to understand. But back then I didn't. And that is so important for someone to have someone, especially in your sponsors, that believes in your potential and you can grow into the person that you are, and I'm struggling to find the English word for it, but
what is it in German?
Die Wertschätzung.
Something with worth, like worth setting?
Yeah. So it's because it's a tough industry sometimes. The industry is maybe, going through ups and downs, and you really have to know your worth and like not undersell yourself. And I was a big problem. That was a big problem of mine. And she's taught me so many ways to now I know my worth and I know, what I can get or what I can do to get what I need and want. But yeah, I think this took, and I mean, not that I'm not evolved yet, but I'm comparing myself now to that girl that just got her Brunotti deal, and we've come a far way of creating content together, also pushing the brand together. Jason's also been a huge part in that. And now it's like we are almost an example for other brands how to do it. The way they showed up at Lords of Tram, the way we created content, I've got so much positive feedback because it's not just a brand that promotes their products. Not at all. I mean, it's actually not even that much about the clothing, but more about the vibe and the Brunotti vibe.
Yeah.
If you've ever met them, they are filling a room and I really, I really feel part of that. I identify myself with that. And it's not just Cut, it's the entire company. We go to the sales meeting almost now every year. It's become like a thing. And we meet the entire distributors, the bosses. They are literally arm to arm with us. And like, it's such a vibe and such a cool brand to be part of. And I'm so grateful for that along my way because it taught me so much and it gave me so many nice, unforgettable moments that for me, Brunotti is the coolest kite brand ever. But also, working with women is pretty cool. I mean, in Nash, I'm also working with mainly women and it's so nice, so supportive and, you can just chat and say, I have this idea. How can we make it happen? And so on. And yeah, I think this is really special in a brand that values you and your worth as a, team rider. Because yeah, I've seen different examples where the team riders are treated as not important or, don't get answers per emails and on emails and everything is a process delayed. And this is something I value so much with my brands that I'm working with. Yeah. It's big.
As you said, involving you in the process and not just being kind of like the token model face for the brand, right? Like you said that you have
exactly
sales calls and hangouts and everything. I wish you made it more public in Europe so I could join as well because it looks so much fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, generally a party. So yeah, it looks
literally. I think we're working on it to grow it bigger. But yeah, the cool thing is about Brunotti is they told me when I came up with a crazy idea, they were like, you know what? If you want to do it, we want to support you. Whoever is Alessa, we want to support you. And I was a long way and I still haven't found who is Alessa. Who am I? What is my style? What am I doing? What do I stand for? But no matter what idea I come up with, if it's reasonable and I just, I plan it through, we make it happen. They support me. And that is so cool. Like our urban outdoor projects with, for example, the film project with our first film project was Antidote to Chaos. It's a film on YouTube where Jason and I had to leave Europe, escape Europe because of his visa and so on. And he was like, hey, this place is so special to me. I really want to show this. So let's make a film project. So we approached Brunotti and they were like, cool, let's do it. We send you the urban outdoor collection and you have your project. And they didn't give us any, guidelines or you have to get these shots or anything. We just sent them the project and they're like, cool, we love it. And every year this become now, this is our thing to make an urban outdoor project. So that's also a reason why I'm going to Cape Town.
Do you have to then find somebody to film it for you? Is it on you then to organize the filming, the scouting of places, I guess?
Yeah. Well, we have support. So everything, I'm literally brainstorming with Kat and then we make it happen. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of support, but also I call it opportunity again, because I have so much creative freedom and I can do whatever I want as long as it's aligned with the brand and, also helping me grow. So as long as I'm growing, the brand is growing. So yeah, that's a bit how it works. And yeah, I can, pretty much just the ability or the the creative freedom and general freedom that I have in the brand is so special to me. Like, it's so much fun.
And how cool is it to share all of this adventure with your partner as well? Like with Brunotti, but also with Nash now as well. So
yeah,
that's the like combined thing.
Yeah, it's so funny how we came full circle. We got to know each other through kiting, obviously. It was actually with our very first clothing sponsor with Rayleigh, where we met at a photo shoot. But then, like, we started competing and traveling together. Same with Luca. Luca came, at the exact, actually, no, I met Luca way before I met Jason, but we never really spoke a word. We were just always kiting in Langebahn and always the last ones to get out the water. But it was just a mutual understanding of, okay, we train together and we're not alone in sunset or when it goes dark. But yeah, our first comps, we were just traveling. We were like, okay, cool, let's do it together because we're kind of on the same vibe and budget. So let's just, unite forces. And yeah, only much later, Jason and I started, like, oh, this is maybe a bit more than just friends. But it was actually super cool because at first it was a friendship that, started evolving. And being a couple doing exactly the same thing is also sometimes a bit challenging. Like, we both have the same fears. We have the same doubt for future, the same instability or insecurity about future. I think he even more because he feels like he's such a protector. So he wants the best for me and wants to protect me. And he's like, I know what the future is like or like what opportunity and we have to make it, So, it's also, and especially being on top of each other, there's also a lot of, in especially like the competition and stressful moments, it can be a lot. And we're not just the two of us, we're always traveling in a group. Now it's Luca, Jason, me, Josh, and Hugo. So it can be a lot on top of each other, but it's much more fun than, the negative. Like the cool times and adventures we've had and have together is so special. Like it's a time period in my life that I would never want to miss. It's so cool.
And it's, it's so practical as well. Like, first of all, it's like you can split the costs of staying at places because you're going at the same competitions. But also it's somebody who understands, like, who has the same challenges that they need to cancel everything if it's windy. Like, you don't have to worry about, like, fitting your schedule around the second person. That's what I'm thinking about, like, the practicality of it.
Yeah.
No, and you can train the same.
Exactly. And push each other. I mean, the boys have pushed me so much, even just by doing what they do. And I'm like, holy moly, like, come on, if they can do that, I can push myself too a little bit, and they're so supportive. My friends are really like the best crowd to be with. They're so supportive and gentle and nice and like, I never have to, if I lose my board far, I know one of the boys will come get it. I do the same.
The good thing about being a girl, I guess as well. Oh no, so I can't reach it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like, especially in kitesurfing, I mean, I surf a bit too, but I'm so glad I'm in kitesurfing because the boys are so nice. They are so supportive. I never had the feeling of, like, being less because I'm a woman or something, or it's actually opposite. They're way more supportive to me because I'm a woman. And I think it's because we all know how extreme and dangerous and fearful it can be. So I think they really respect us in a way.
Wow, that's so beautiful. That's I think it's also kind of the new generation, right? Like I'm like exposed to some generation where it's quite opposite, but I think it's the new generation of athletes and people who grow up with really good examples of like support that goes both ways. It's really, really awesome to hear that that's how you feel, because that's just a really beautiful representation of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, in my teaching times, I've also got to know the other side, and there's definitely both sides, of course. But that's also something that's in our friend group. It's our moral to preach that, because kitesurfing is a niche sport. There isn't much, everybody who's made something in kitesurfing had to fight for it. Like it doesn't come easy. So, it's very important for us to support that and respect each other, because first of all, we've also been in situations right at the beginning or where we had to drag someone out who's been passed out, broke his leg. We had to carry that guy for kilometers to get to the ambulance in a very remote spot. So if Jason and Luca hadn't been there that day, I don't know if he would have made it. And there's a lot of situations where we went through together like that. And actually, especially Luca and Jason saved lives. So there's also the danger of it. And if we don't look out for each other, then it becomes a much more dangerous sport. And also, you already need help to launch and land your kite. So might as well be nice to people, because it's a give and take. Or you want people to, maybe when you're jumping, look out for you, even if they're not that aware of things. You want to be able to talk to them and say, listen, it's not that I have more right because I'm better. I just want to enjoy the spot just as much as you are. And I want you to enjoy it. So I have to talk and communicate with people. And like I said, the reason why I fell in love with the sport is because I've been treated so nicely, and I really want to preserve that also in the competition scene. The girls are such an amazing bunch of people that are like, I don't know, name another industry where girls or generally people are so supportive of each other in competition. Like it doesn't exist. And that is something I love about competing and about the sports. And I don't think I would have gotten into competition if it wasn't that way, because actually I am very competitive, but I always thought I'm not because I don't like to compare myself. But in our competition, it's not about that. It's about yourself. It's about jumping over your fear. And if someone else does that, I respect that and I cheer for her because I know what it takes to jump over your fear. So there's no reason to be envious or something. Actually, the opposite. If she can jump over her fear and over her shadow to do it, then why can't I? And that's been, for example, Angélie for me. Angélie Bouillon was such a big inspiration for me because she's been the first woman to do that shit. And I was like, well, it's possible. And there's nothing that speaks against me doing it. But I don't know if I would have been the first one, It's much harder to be the first one doing something that no one has done before or no woman has done before. So that is something I really want to keep that in the sports. Even competition gets harder. There's a lot more professionalism into it. There's a much more risk and reward and effort you have to put in, but I want to still preserve that nice energy and vibe, because we need that in the sport. Otherwise it becomes maybe even a bit dangerous,
That's so beautiful. I think you also mentioned in the other podcast that basically everything that you do right now in the competition is a women, like female first or a women's first attempt at the tricks, and everything you're doing is pushing the sport forward, not only for women but for everyone. really as well. I think I also wanted to ask you, and this is actually, I asked my friends if they want to ask you something. And one of the questions somebody wants to know is, have you tried to ride the short line? Because Jason rides short lines. Like, how's your short line?
It's coming. Yeah, I did last year in Cape Town last season. And don't want to take away too much for now, but short line is a lot of fun and definitely something that, yeah, I'm probably trying to step into Jason's footsteps, although that's big footsteps to take on. But I don't care about tricks with short lines, but the feeling of putting your kite low on short lines is so much fun. Like, it's actually so sick. And I mean, I've seen photos after. I felt like Jason. I honestly felt like I'm getting yanked into my beep and put my kite so low. And I saw the photo. I'm like, what? But yeah, it's also my approach to everything in progression is maybe a bit slower than others, and just because I've been injured before and I know how long it takes after an injury to get back, so I try to break it down, take it a bit easier and slower. But yeah, definitely gonna be a big topic for my Cape Town season, also because the training for competition is very generic, and this season I want to break it up. I want to go into windsurfing, into para-winging, into downwind foiling. I want to start. My biggest dream is to learn to surf foil, so surfing with a foil, but I feel like I need a lot of basics still first into foiling. And yeah, also other disciplines in kiting, short lines, wave kiting. Like, there is still so much to this, and I've focused a lot on big air only, or air style when it's light wind, and big air when it's strong. But again, we've seen last season, if you only focus on one thing, yes, you progress a lot faster. But if you stop enjoying what you're doing because it's always the same, and that's specifically for me, I think something that I need to work on myself, because that's just how I am. If it gets too one-sided, I get bored, and then I stop enjoying it. So I guess I've always been someone who likes to do everything, but I was never really good at just one thing. But yeah, again, I'm trying to not fight the way I am, but trying to work with it, accept it, and then thrive in my own way, kind of.
I also saw that Zara recently got the fly surfer, what is it called? The foil kite?
Yeah.
Have you also thought of getting that for training?
I was probably one of the first ones to have one.
But you can probably borrow one from Luca, I guess.
Yeah, I actually have two on my own, but officially, obviously not. But unofficially, they are a very good way of training air style. And also, once you know how to ride them and steer them, it's kind of like a cheat code for progression. Yeah. But this is all not official, right?
It's your after work kite.
Yeah. It's my after work kite. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, after work, you can relax and whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think both you and I think we can go on for an hour, but
yeah, absolutely.
People have
Maybe
to
we should have a private call after that.
I think with I had the conversation with Sue Kay, and I think we stayed for about an hour afterwards. Just having a chat with her and Dave as well, came in.
They're such amazing people.
They're so cute.
Yeah. Sue is also one of my big supporters and also one of my big idols. Like, Sue is actually such an interesting and knowledgeable person. So I really look up to her and her approach to kiting. It's really special.
And the fact that she's designing kites and making kites, how cool is that?
Yeah, and still shredding.
Yeah.
Sue can take on conditions that like, again, the way she was riding really inspired me, because I was like, okay, if she's holding down an 8, stop being a pussy, you know? And we always in Cape Town had this like competition of who's jumping higher.
Yeah.
But also, again, not in a way of competition, but so supportive.
Yeah.
So cool.
Oh, I need to make it to Cape Town. I need to make it to
Please.
South Africa. I also really want to start jumping higher. Like I can't even do 10. Like I'm just like trying to push myself to 10. But the big problem for me, like coming to Cape Town, is that I'm only right foot forward. So I do everything to the right. And I'm just like,
Story of my life.
Yeah. Is that you as
But
well?
2 things that I want to tell you about that. First of all, look at a building or something that is 10 meter high. Do not undervalue yourself if you're jumping 7, because even 7 meters is freaking high. And second of all, right foot forward, being right foot forward and learning your weak side can be actually a huge strength, because most people are left foot forward and can't jump to the right. But if you learn something, let's say in your other brain half, it will make you, I kid you not, I'm maybe a bit of exaggerating, but it will make you a better person physically. Like, it's such a good way of training your brain and your fear, your coordination. If you practice a jump to your left, you'll automatically get better in your common things and tricks that you do to the right, just because you get so much more orientation. And yeah,
Body
it's
awareness.
really, yeah, because I was the same. When I got to Cape Town, I couldn't even jump over a wave. I was getting stuck in that freaking shower break for so long and so many times. But now if I go for a boost jump or trying to break my PB, I will go to the left.
Wow, really? Like for some reason I can edge and I can take off way more vertical to the left. Like I don't know what it is. To the right, maybe it's just because I have so many bad habits at this point and I'm overthinking it. Like for some reason to the left, it's like easier without like so much effort, but I still jump like very low to the left. But
there's actually a perfect example. If you learn a language, you'll learn it with the grammar and the rules. Now, in your mother tongue, you already know how to speak, but if you would ask me in German, what is the dative, all of these grammar rules, I couldn't tell you. But in English, I can, because I learned the language the right way. So it's the same, I think, because I have the same. I'm edging a lot better to my weak side because I've learned it and I've focused on doing it the right way, when later, when I already had a certain knowledge and skill set. And to the right, I was just starting to jump, and now I jump a certain way. Of course, you can also relearn that, and you should. The pop is everything, but it is actually, I strongly believe that is the reason why you actually will be better at your weak side if you keep practice it.
Try it at my next session.
Yeah,
I do it
or
in
try it in
wakeboarding.
Cape Town.
I do it in the wakeboarding, actually, because in wakeboarding, there's also this girl that like really inspired me, Liepa, and she's Lithuanian. She started women wakeboarding group, but it's not really running anymore. But she did these challenges, and she actually like said, it's like, okay, so today's challenge, when you go to the cable park, only do stuff on your wrong foot. Like try to do everything switch in wakeboarding, right?
I think that's much harder, isn't it, for wakeboarding?
Like the thing is, like going toe side, like the first time you do like your toe side, basically like going on wakeboarding, like especially if you've been kitesurfing for a very long time, it's so easy, right? You just go toe side, and
but
people are
jumping
like,
on an obstacle toe side.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you're not like jumping, you're sliding on it, right? So
but like I feel like I also tried it, and just because doing a handle pass would make more sense in some angles if you hit it toe side and then go back. But there's no way I would approach that slide toe side. I tried it. absolutely no way. For me, it seems a lot harder than kite surfing.
But it's that challenge as well, as you say, right? Like, it's actually like, to me, because I was like, okay, she told us just to do everything switch. You know what? That's it. I'm going to do it. Because before that, I would be like lazy and would be like, okay, I just want to learn a new trick rather than do something basic.
And have fun.
You know? Yeah. But also, you know, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing at the cable park. I don't know, you know, that's a lot of times a problem.
Yeah, I think that is also one thing worth to mention that is so important. You have to, like, I also get that now, because now when I go to a spot and the other pros are there, and like you feel like there's a certain expectation of you to perform and there is eyes on you, and then to crash like a kook because you're doing something new or unusual, and like sometimes you really crash like a kook, like it just is inevitable, but you gotta be above that. But I respect that, you know, like me personally, if I see someone and even if she crashes the kook is like the most funny way, I still respect it, because the fear of crashing and looking like, you know, like if you come over that, you've come a long way. That tells a lot about you, I think.
But it also tells everyone that you're trying to do something you haven't done before. Or maybe like you might be having a really bad session. Like sometimes I can't land a single back roll, you know, it's like just everything crashes.
Yeah.
But I heard somebody saying in a podcast where they were watching Aaron Hadlow, and he was like at some spot and he was basically crashing everything. Like every second trick he was doing, he was crashing. But it was because he was like trying to land this like new combination, new trick and everything. And that gave them the perspective as well. It's like, you know, I'm watching this like the greatest kite surfer ever, basically, and he's not landing anything. But like he's not landing anything because what he's doing is like stratospherical, you know, it's like impossible, basically, and he's trying to land it. So yeah, that's a good mindset to have as well, I think.
Jason said that once to me, and it stuck in my head. He was like, "You recognize a good kite surfer the way he crashes. You can immediately see the way someone is crashing if he's good or not." And I think that's so true. Like, if you used to crash, you know exactly how to do it. And that is what you need to progress.
Okay, hopefully people think that I'm a good kite surfer when I crash.
You know what? Whether they do or not, it helps to believe it yourself.
I'll just get in from the crash like, oh,
exactly. That was great.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, if you have fun with it, no one can take that away from you, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's the best mindset actually to have. Like I also sometimes go out and I realize it's like the other day I rolled on my ankle. So it's like, I wasn't hurting too much, but I didn't want to break it or like to make it worse. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take my directional, and I'm still for years trying to jump on a directional. I can't figure it out. But you know what? I'm just going to spend the entire session trying to figure that one out. I still haven't, but I did actually a bigger pop this time, so that was great.
So I can't do that for shit. Not at all. I was so embarrassed for Nash House. They put a part in where I was trying to wave ride. And again, like I love to do all these sports, but I focus on one thing, and that for years now, on just big air and air style, or actually mainly big air, and only started also now more recently with air style, that I'm a kook in wave riding. I look like a kook, and they put it into the Nash House movie, and like we didn't have a lot of wind, so we had to be very selective with the shots, and there's like barely any riding besides that section of me in the whole movie, and I was so embarrassed. And again, that helped me to, you know, like just get over myself and be like, okay, it's not my discipline. It's fine. And I can laugh about it because maybe someone else watches it and says, okay, Alessa can't wave ride. That's a fact. But she's still having fun and she's still trying. So let me get out there and try a waveboard, you know, if I can just do that and inspire someone to do something, even if you're not good at it, that's something.
And that Nash board looks really good. If she can't kitesurf, but on that Nash board, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's so much fun. Even if you're not good at it, it's so much fun.
Yeah, but it's also like a really good thing to have when, there's not a lot of wind. Like you said that you're really interested in trying foiling and everything. And there's so many people you can probably ask for help as well and to teach you. Like Francesca is really big on foiling, right?
Yeah.
It's so cool to have all of these versatile hobbies. I do,
and especially if you're inland somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like a dock start from you can even do it at the cable park. I actually tried foiling at the cable park on a slow speed.
Cool.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Do you water start then, or how do you?
You start on the dock, like the dock that you jump off for wakeboarding. You just sit down, and then they just roll kind of like the cable. And we were on a 4-point system, but they just ran it like super slow, just with one person on the cable at the time. And then they explain to you how to do it. So I think I made like 2 turns or something. That was really fun.
Sick. That sounds really cool. It's like almost like behind a boat.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you get the cable to get very slow.
It's very slow. They only do one person at a time. So then it's literally just like going with you, because we had like a girls event and we're supposed to wakeboard, but the cable was broken or something. So they could only do like slow cable. So we did wake skate and foil. So
cool.
That was really fun.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
I also, after starting with kitesurfing, I only got into wakeboarding. I mean, again, not worth to mention because I'm really bad at it, but it's so much fun. Like, especially I'm from the south of Germany and there's nothing else you can do. It's so cool. And again, best community. Such a nice community.
100%, for sure. I love wakeboarders. But also it's like as you say, like, I'm not really good at it. Like, like wakeboarding, I'm also not really great. Like, I'm not even good at kitesurfing that much, but I just love doing that. I just love being in the water and having a good time. Like wakeboarding, I can just go on a couple of obstacles. And every time I do, I was like, oh, still got it, still can do it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's such an exciting feeling just to slide. Also, the sliding part is just so exciting. I also get that totally. Like, it's exciting, but it's still also, I don't know, for me, courage. It takes courage to hit that slide,
Yeah, for sure. And I do, like, I also can do now, like, a switch landing. I can do that for 3 years already. But, like, every time I do it, I feel it's like, wow, I'm so cool. Like,
you do it with so much style. And that's the thing. Like, I also think in general, in kiting, when I ride for fun in light wind, I have so much more style than, in big air and strong conditions when you're fighting it. And that is one thing that women also should always see, that you don't need to be good at it. You don't need to be in the craziest conditions. You just add a little tweak, add a little back roll transition, which is super easy, no risk to learn, and so on. And you can look so stylish. And I also started like a content series. I actually need to edit the next one, like to edit how-tos. Just because I think I want the women to, not everyone needs to go in crazy big air conditions, but I enjoy it so much when women look good on the water, just to show, like, we got it.
But also kite surf with the flow. That's what you're saying, right? Like, I think you're right, because it doesn't, like, you don't have to do something crazy spectacular, but it really shows when you have the flow to your tack, like when you do a couple of back rolls, like a really nice stylish transition. It really kind of like, it just looks really cool. It looks really beautiful, I think. Yeah.
And we can do that like just as much, maybe even more than the men, like because we've got the, cognitive, like, I don't know, I feel women are like more flowy. I mean,
it's
it
like
depends.
Dancing. Kind of.
It depends. If you look at Aaron Hadlow, there is no better style than that, but maybe not compare yourself with the best.
No, but be different, right? That's what you're saying as well. There's like, I think it's kind of like a feminine kite surfing in a way, right? Like there's different
intuitive, like just do what feels right, crash, whatever. Like just intuitive. It's so cool when when you, of course, you have to have a certain level to reach that, because when you're still fighting for your life and where the hell am I and where's my board, of course, it's not possible. But instead of trying a boogie, I would much rather like tell you to, okay, start with a front roll with a grab and do it inverted, do it straight, do it backwards, whatever, before you learn. Because a lot of people, and especially women now, they skip the basics. They want to progress in big air and they want to get good so quickly that if you skip the basics, you have you might be good in big air or loops, but you also have a much bigger risk of injury because you haven't learned to crash that way. Your orientation might not be a full 360 and so on. So I think basics are so important. And then you also don't get frustrated if you don't get the right conditions to train, because there's always something you can do.
It's so interesting. Somebody in our local kite chat just also asked, it's like, how do I get insanely good really fast? You know, and we're like, okay, well, define what's insanely good. And they're like, oh yeah, some of the pros, they're just like, you know, kiting for 2 years and then they're really, really good. And I'm just thinking, it's like, well, first of all, they have coaches, they have like a lot of people behind them that like really push them, but also tell them like how to do it properly. Then you can't dismiss like a talent. Some people are just like really talented on understanding and knowing their body and knowing the direction. But also I think like a lot of people forget that a lot of like pros, just like you started with freestyling. So you're also more aware of your body and different like landing techniques and basics and kind of like a kite control. So it didn't really happen overnight. You just switched to big air later and it's a different discipline, but everything you do in freestyling, that helps. Pretty much all of the girls right now on the circuit are freestylers first, right?
No. I think it's only Mika. I mean, I call myself, I have a freestyle background, but I was still very much a beginner. So I can do basic tricks, but not, like crazy.
But Natalie as well. Yeah.
Natalie, Pippa,
Mm.
and
Aya, she did freestyle as well, I think.
Yeah. But it's not that many, actually. Like, what's interesting about the women's fleet is also that we all started super late. I mean, besides Francesca, Natalie, Pippa, and Mika.
And Aya.
The rest.
And Aya.
And Aya. Yeah, I don't know actually how long she's kiting for. But
she's
a
only
lot
15, so
she's
yeah.
only 15. Can't be that long.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of, I mean, Zara only started when she was 20 something. Yeah, there's a lot of women who got like, had a different life before that.
Yeah. That's so fascinating. It's so interesting how you change, because I started kitesurfing when I was 16. So yeah, it was like at the very, very start. So, and then like, I mean, I'm basically like a weekend kite surfer, it's like I just kite surf after work or at the weekends. But like, it's like I can't imagine my life without kite surfing. But it's just so interesting to me to see people who fall into it later, like, and how they get addicted to it as well in the same like amount as I am,
Yeah. And I mean, also to what we were talking about earlier, it is of course a certain amount of talent, but the people who've progressed within 2 years, I mean, I was actually in freestyle, I was kind of like that. Like, I was, after 2 years, I could land S-bend to blind, rally to blind, back to, what's it called? I was actually about to land, like getting close to my first back mopes, and I forgot the name, like a Hindenburger. Within 2 years of kite surfing, which is really, really fast. But what most people didn't see, I spent a lot more time than others in 2 years on the water. Like, if you are able to train every day in good conditions at nice spots, obviously your progression curve will be much faster than someone who can only kite on the weekend because you have a normal job, and like there's a lot more into that. Or someone who trains with a coach and has only one goal to progress in this discipline and wants to become XYZ, whatever. So yeah, it's in general, it's very difficult to compare. In general, I think is also, again, one thing that sports has taught me. Don't compare yourself, because you never know the full truth. The only thing and person you should compare yourself is yourself yesterday or whatever point you were starting at. And then you see your real progression. And then you see, am I really progressing or am I stuck? And that should be your only indicator. Yes, you can be taking other into consideration when it comes to pushing yourself and inspiring. Like when I was looking at Anjali, I was obsessed with her videos. I was watching her over and over again, more than any guy, because I could relate, and guys were doing crazier tricks, but I found it so cool that Anjali was doing it. So of course I was comparing myself in a way, but I found out during competition, the times when I compared myself, even in a heat, and you look at the others and you think, oh, that was bigger than mine, and so on, you stop losing your spark, you stop losing your focus on yourself, and you cannot compete with anyone but you. You have to go your way, and you cannot skip any step of progression. You gotta do it. You gotta get through it. And I think this is not just in sports. It's actually very important nowadays in times of social media to do that, or to not do that and say, yeah, she's so much better, she has this better life. You don't know. You really don't know. And they don't want to show you. I'm not showing a lot of what's going on in my life. I just spoke to you about small injuries. No one knows about that. I had tennis elbow. My knee was hurting. Even in the competition, I was stressing so much about my knee because it was already painful, and I knew I'm going to push and do whatever it takes to go through in Mykonos. And that mindset is also, like something that I don't speak openly about. You don't know, you don't see that. And people might think, oh, everything is great, she's taking a break in Germany, and so on, and it looks all great, but there's so much more into everyone's life than that and what they show you.
Why do you think you're not like sharing it so openly? Like, do you feel like, does it feel like you might be like complaining, or is like, do you think it's not relevant maybe, or do you want to paint a different picture on your socials?
Is a good question. I wanted to start more about it, talking more about it, but I think the biggest problem is my inner critique. It's the biggest problem is for sure myself. First of all, I feel like I need to find a format. How do I talk about it? Because I don't want to, like you say, I don't want to sit there and complain, because people look at my life and they think you have nothing to complain about, and I don't want to portray negativity or show any negative. And then there's also the competitive thought. Then you don't want your competitors to think you're weak, you're injured, you're out. And then there's the sponsor aspect. You don't want to portray yourself as being constantly injured or, again, weak or something. And of course, I know all of this is in my head, and probably a lot of people would actually appreciate me sharing more about that. But I think, yeah, I'm still in the process of finding, or, sometimes then you open up and you get kind of, yeah, I'm just going to say it, you get no views, no likes, and you feel like, oh my God, no one wants to see that. And, there's so much self-criticism I feel like, especially with us women, like we are for sure our biggest critique, because every time I open up, usually I get especially from women, I get support. But then there's also the side of, like then men tell you no one is interested in your hormone cycle and so on. No one
I
wants
am.
to see that. Or I'm afraid to lose followers who follow me for my kitesurfing journey and for tricks that I post or whatever is my USP kind of. And I feel like it could be actually an interesting question back to the people that listen, and what do they want to see from my life? Because in the end, I'm also, especially with social media, I know there's a lot more I can do. I just feel like I haven't found the format or the right way of doing it. So that's also why I created a separate account for the app, because there is where I talk more, where I target specifically women in, of course, in all kind of age, because it's a much broader topic, but where I'm maybe going to talk more. I already started because, talk more about these topics that go along in my everyday life but it would be very interesting to see what do people actually want to know and see of my life and my perspective of what I think they want to see. It's probably, I think it would be actually a really good thing to do also for myself, because there's a lot that I need to still let go of, doubt, self-doubt, and, I think everybody struggles with that.
Yeah, 100%. Especially like when you said like you have to upkeep your image and you don't know why people sign up to follow you on Instagram. I think Zara is doing it really well, where she created the closed chat, right? So she's way more open or shares a lot of stuff in a text form, which is also, I think, when you're posting something that's visual, when you're posting a story or a reel, it's very easy for somebody who's just doom scrolling to like watch it and go past it. It's like cool, like, whatever. But when you're doing it in the chat in a textual form, it forces you to stop and actually get what it says and really read the message. And for a casual scroller or a person who's looking for a video of you like doing a trick, that's probably not interesting, but that's not the person who you're writing this for. And like doing it in a text form, maybe that could actually be a possibility to open up a little bit more and share a little bit more. I think that's quite a cool example of what she's doing.
Yeah, true. I'm even myself in her chat, and I love it. Like I think it's also because I know her, it's like keeping up with, a friend. Like yeah, it's actually true. It's a good point. And then it's also not invasive for the ones that may not want to see it.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome, Alessa.
Nice.
It's been a long conversation. I cut up the episode there a little bit, but I hope you enjoyed this very long episode. I think we could have continued talking for hours and hours and hours. Alessa is incredibly knowledgeable, very open and transparent, and is just a treat to talk to. So follow her on all of her socials. Follow her on the socials for the app that she's creating. I think that is such an incredible invention, and really looking forward to testing the app. And share this episode with a woman in your life that does kite surfing or water sports and you think needs to hear this episode. This will be probably the most incredible way to help the show grow and show the support for this podcast. Thank you for listening, and see us.